I welcome you to Anselmo Academy Music and the Arts monthly broadcast and greatly appreciate you tuning in support of this initiative. Today, we present esteemed pianist and educator, Dr. Igor Resnianski. Welcome, Igor. Please say hello. Oh, suddenly you muted.
Yes, sorry. Yes. Hello, how are you doing?
Yes, welcome. And by the way, you just heard Rachmaninoff Etude Tableau, Opus 39, number 1, performed by Dr. Igor Resnianski. We will be sharing our guest bio, photos, videos, and a dialogue shortly. But first, we have a few announcements from Anselmo Academy. Our summer enrollment is open for private lessons, and we offer lessons throughout New York and New Jersey. Please connect with us at our website, anselmoacademy.org. Anselmo Academy is a nonprofit 501c3 organization. Today, we celebrate 24-year anniversary, and we specialize in organizing group classes at local schools. And this past academic year, we serve close to 2,000 students a week through our partnerships with local schools and organizations that serve enrichment. Our classes vary from general music to musical theater, piano classes, guitar, violin, voice, and more. There's actually a long list. We also offer drama classes as well. We are still in the midst of many student recitals at various locations. We have organized them throughout May and June, and we had recitals already in Manhattan, in Queens, in the Bronx, and now in New Jersey. And this month we have recitals happening in Brooklyn. If you'd like more information and would like to attend, these are free of charge, of course, and open to the public. So please reach out to us at our website. Coming up in July and August during the summer, we actually going to host some online master classes with esteemed teachers. So that's exciting, and please stay tuned for more information about that coming soon. Please subscribe to our social media platforms and our two e-newsletters that you can find at anselmoacademy.org homepage at the bottom. These two e-newsletters called Academic Newsletter and then On-Stage Newsletter, and both contain information about our programming, of course, but also, list events like this one today, where we invite esteemed guest musicians, artists, performing artists, pedagogues to share their musical journey. That's it. We hope you enjoy our program today. Can we please have Igor's profile picture on the screen as I go to his bio? Wonderful, thank you. A Russian-born pianist and esteemed pedagogue, Igor Resnianski received his formal music degrees with distinctions from Novosibirsk Music College under Professor Elena Stolozhuk and Novosibirsk State Conservatory under Professor Mary Levenzon. He continued his studies in the U.S. and completed his artist diploma program under Dr. Thomas Unger at Texas Christian University, and then doctoral degree from Temple University in Philadelphia, where he studied with Professor Harvey Whittin. In addition, he studied as a full scholarship student at the Clyburn International Summer Piano Institute, where he was under the tutelage of distinguished musicians Paul Badura-Skora, John Lill, Fanny Waterman, and George Shabak. As Steinway artist, Dr. Resnianski is a prize winner of many piano competitions, including first prize at the New Orleans International Piano Competition, the bronze medal at the International World Piano Competition in Ohio, the bronze medal at the Nina Whiteman International Piano Competition in Louisiana, the fifth prize at the first China International Piano Competition in Beijing, and second prize at the All Russia Piano Competition called Sadružestvo. Prior to moving to the US, he was full-time professor at the Novosibirsk Music College, as well as an assistant professor at the Novosibirsk Music Conservatory. His performance career during that time took him around the country, and he performed in numerous philharmonic halls as solo artist, soloist with orchestra, and chamber musician. His chamber music recordings were released by St. Petersburg Recording Company and Sony Entertainment label. In 1996, he made his concerto debut in US, performing with the Fourth Symphony Orchestra under conductor Carolyn Wilson, and in South America, performing solo recital and giving master classes at the Medellin International Festival in Colombia. Since then, he performed with numerous orchestras, including New Orleans, Acadiana, Canet, and Helena symphonies, and performed solo and chamber recitals throughout US, China, Hong Kong, and more. His performances were televised and broadcasted in Novosibirsk, Russia, New Orleans, Louisiana, Palm Beach, Florida, Cincinnati, Ohio, and he's been featured at the PBS Y Arts television channel, performing several sonatas by Scarlatti, as well as on WRTI 90.1 FM radio station, performing Moritz by Rachmaninoff, Beethoven, Chopin, and Scarlatti. Dr. Resnianski regularly presents lectures and gives master classes in the US, China, Russia, Hong Kong, Colombia, Canada, and more. And for many years, he served as a faculty and guest artist at the Cliburn Piano Institute in Fort Worth, Texas. Since 2006, he has been on the faculty of Piano Texas International Academy and Festival in Fort Worth. He's a co-director of New Orleans Piano Institute since 2014, and since 2021, an honorary advisor for Malaysia Piano Teachers Association. In the fall of 2023, he was inducted in the Steinway Teachers Hall of Fame. Dr. Resnianski teaches in Philadelphia, where he is an assistant professor at Westchester University of Pennsylvania and piano instructor at the Nellie Berman School of Music. His students were featured in various television and radio programs, including From the Top, and are winners of numerous local, national, and international piano competitions. Among them are MTNA PA State and Eastern Division Philadelphia Orchestra Concerto Competition, Chicago International Music Competition, Singapore International Piano Competition, and many, many more. We'll post a full bio in the comments. They perform in various performance venues in U.S. and abroad, including Weill Hall at Carnegie Hall and Merkin Hall at Kaufman Cultural Center in New York. And again, the list is long, so we'll post everything in the comments. Dr. Resnianski is member of Music Teacher National Association, MTNA. He served as a jury member in many local, state, and international piano competitions and festivals. Among them are New Orleans International Piano Competition and New Orleans International Piano Competition for Young Artists, Chicago International Music Competition, Kaufman International Youth Piano Competition, and many, many more. Wonderful. We're now going to play a second video performed by Dr. Resnianski called Game of Sparkling Rain, composed by Vladimir Titov. Take a look. Wonderful. We are now moving to the dialogue portion of our event. Welcome again, Igor. So I sent you some questions and let's begin. So tell us about your musical journey, your teachers, family. Where did you study piano and anything else? Any stories you'd like to share? You're muted. You're muted.
Yet again, I'm a good student. I learn how to mute myself when I don't talk. Yeah.
Yes.
First of all, thank you for invitation, and thank you for the work that you're doing yourself, your academy, because that's an important line of work for the arts development. And so that is something to be admired for. And it's not everyone gets the luxury to work with one-on-one lessons with students. Musicians like yourself, you have to deliver arts to the community. So, and that's the hardest line. So I would want to applaud you first.
Thank you.
So, and support your work. My journey would be probably more or less typical for the kids who grew up in my time during the Soviet Union period. So my family ended up in Novosibirsk, Russia, when I was about 3.5, I think, years old. And since I remember myself being more or less aware of reality, I quickly was drawn to classical music just naturally. And so it was I think I'm not looking at the right angle, but nevertheless, for the audience, if you see me looking away, that means I'm not looking at the lens of my iPad. But nevertheless, somehow the natural gravitation toward the classical music was predetermined. So I never had to ask questions what I like in life, because once I heard the classical music sounding, somehow it was magic to me. So would be drawn to the radio when during that time, they would always give a time to play some classical music as well as television. So somehow I would run and listen. And I probably was around 4 years old. And so when I discovered naturally that this is something amazing, and without knowing what it is, I remember that I made a decision that time that I want to be able to play it. So in my family my mother was an engineer. She wasn't an engineer. She was teaching at the institute, we would call it, not university, agricultural, but she was actually an architect. So, and then she was teaching geometry and I think other subjects to the students. My father was in the military, which was fairly common. And so last time he was transferred to Novosibirsk, which was his last place of transfer. This is where we pretty much settled. And not until I was 9 years old, I actually started taking formal lessons. At that time, really the kids who wanted to take lessons, they would go to music schools. So the private lessons, at least in Novosibirsk, weren't that common and developed at that time. I think partially because of the system that we lived in. So the private lesson would be considered to be a private business. So it wasn't quite, I think, going well with the whole, how the economy was set up. So nevertheless, I was asking for music lessons since I was, I think, 5. And then ultimately, music school opened right in front of our condominium building. And as we were outside, me and my father, so we just walked in, auditioned, and I was accepted to take cello lessons while we wanted to do piano. Without having piano at home, I was just spending time on my father's bayan playing. My father was self-taught, so the only musician. So I would spend more time on that bayan than I think anybody else in the family, pulling sideways and trying to make some, sounds. And so we started with cello because all the piano spots were already filled. It took us about 6 months or so for my mother to keep going to the director of the music school in Novosibirsk, one of the music schools, and asked him, we really wanted piano, and so eventually they added the second instrument. So I kept cello and piano for about 3 years, and then I dropped cello, continued with the piano, and studied with the same teacher, Ludmila Sakharova, who was a wonderful, strict, and very insightful teacher. And eventually she's the one who brought me to music college to audition, and eventually how my life went professionally after that. I went to music college, did my 4 years there. And then after the music college, I went to conservatory, which Novosibirsk had all of those branches. So, and studied in the conservatory for 5 years, then was admitted to post-graduation course, which is we call aspirantura. So, and at that time, I was already playing concerts and got some prizes in the All Russia competition, and then went to first competition in China. So, and then because of China international competition, and one of the contestants who was there, so her name is Krista. So she studied with Tamas Ungar, and she's the one who introduced me to him right after the competition. We both competed there. We both made it to the finals. I got the 5th prize, and Krista, I believe I think she got the 2nd or 3rd prize. So, and that's pretty much how I ended up in the United States. It was coming as a student from Novosibirsk, where I was already teaching music college, and then was assistant professor at conservatory, and then special school for gifted kids wanted to take me on their faculty, Tistiletka, and so I left thinking, well, it just would be interesting to see what America is all about, and then X number of years of later, I'm still here. So.
Great. So tell us more about the Russian school of teaching that I'm sure that you obviously appreciate as a pianist and as a teacher, and how you evolve that teaching method you received into your students that you have today.
Yes, I actually at my university I do teach piano pedagogy classes, and I'm now running that program. And we all know that there is such thing as a Russian piano school, and everyone talks about it. And then once you ask a question, what is the Russian piano school, and you start to dig a little bit deeper into, let's say, my heritage of teachers, that from every angle, from all of my teachers, it actually leads back to Czerny and Beethoven. So you quickly realize that the Russian school is an interesting, at least the way I look at this, it's an interesting a branch of, I would say, European all-overall music school, of course, and the piano school. I think Germans influenced Russian piano school quite a bit. I'm sure there is a French influence there as well. But what comes from the German influence is the use of the arm. So, which is Russians famous for. We probably brought it to the Swan Lake level, because our arm movements are extremely graceful. Yes, and we start teaching, which I believe fundamental, is that we start teaching from the first days, from the first lessons of piano lessons, we are really paying attention to the arm movements more than the fingers. So the arm weight and arm as a driver of the sound production is the fundamental in the so-called Russian piano school. So how we use the arm, we probably was modified by the teachers who taught in Russia. Some of them came actually from Germany. So, but I'm just hoping that maybe a little bit of that arm, somewhat of that arm movement is embedded in my teacher's heritage, which would be, again, Carl Czerny, really about 4 or 5 generations, and it's just a straight line through my teachers leading to myself. So, which is kind of fascinating thing to have. It's only 4 or 5 teachers, and certain traditions probably still there. So the Russian school is, I would say, one of the huge element at the start is focus on the arm and then of course fingers. And then the second, of course, it's imagery and the sound quality, which somehow was linked together very early. It's not just, let's work on technical aspect of it. It's why we're doing it. And all the teachers who've been trained in that system, they even in the first lessons, they want to somehow find adjectives to describe the touch and the sound. And I think all of that start that provides a good foundation is probably the fundamentals of the Russian school. And then it goes into so many things. It's a topic of dissertation and a long conversation. But I think the start is, I noticed, is distinctly different. This is how I teach. This is what I present for my students in the pedagogy classes. But not only that, I say there is other ways to approach it. Everyone agrees that the arm weight is important, but how is it done? So Russian done, I call it Swan Lake. So,
That's very good. I never heard that before. So tell us about your upcoming events, festivals. What do you have this summer? Anything like that?
yeah, this summer I'm always looking forward to go back to Piano, Texas, which is used to be Van Cliburn Piano Institute, and then the name was changed to Piano, Texas. And I'm leaving this Sunday morning to go there. We'll be teaching master classes and lessons. And I was privileged and lucky to be invited every year for I don't know, since I think 2000. So it's been 20 plus years I've been going there as a faculty and teaching amateur pianists, which is wonderful phenomena in the United States. It didn't take me long to appreciate it at the time when it was only, I think, just kind of developing. And then I teach young artists as well, and then teachers amateurs program, young artists, and then juniors. That's a fairly new program that Piano Texas added. And me and Dr. Unger, who was my former professor at TCU, we actually talked about this, and he asked me, Igor, you teach a lot of young people before college, pre-college. What do you think will be good for this program? So they ran it the first year, and then we had this conversation, and he always listens to others, and he structured it in a certain way that was making sense to continue, and now it's a very competitive level to get into. So so I'm going there this Sunday morning, and I'm looking forward to about 10 days of reuniting with people I know, and then giving master classes, teaching lessons, listen other faculty, which are world-renowned musicians, try to learn from them as always, and just a fantastic festival. And then mid-July, I am co-directing and teaching at New Orleans Piano Institute. So that is in Piano Institute. That festival is run by by us as the directors. My co-director is Hristo Birborchikov right now. He is originally from Bulgaria, but is a local piano teacher in New Orleans and has wonderful students there as well. So he is a great teacher. And so we co-directing it, but it is run by MASNO, Musical Arts Society of New Orleans, the one that runs New Orleans International Competition. So that is biannual competition right now, but the institute is annual. So that will be my next trip. Have to prepare the schedule and plan all of that. And that would be it so far. I think just those two events where I usually go. Before pandemic, I was going practically every year to Hong Kong. GMC Music, it's a known music school in Hong Kong, and Rizzo Chang, she's a director of the school, and one of her students right now is going to be in Chopin international competition, Yun Chan. not Yunchan. I'm gonna uh, I'm gonna butcher his name, so I better don't say it. But
Yes, sure.
it's her star student that
Mm-hmm.
is made it to Chopin International in Poland in the fall. So he's one of the contestants. He went through all
Fantastic.
these rounds of audition, and she's a wonderful teacher. So I used to go there, but right now they still invite me annually in the fall to judge via online, and they have a perfect setup through Facebook in real time with high-end equipment. Delay is about 3 seconds, but on my end, I'm listening to a nice performance like it would be in a recording studio, and it's all via YouTube, Hong Kong to Philadelphia. So those would be my summer festivals now, minus Hong Kong. It's my plans.
Fantastic. So what are the core values of your teaching?
Good question. You did send me this question before, and I was trying to rationalize it. The
I
probably
mean, 1 second. So since you talked about Russian school and the arm and Swan Lake and everything
yes,
else,
one like
but besides that, what else?
I mean, my answer was always the same, and the shorter answer would be that I am personally privileged to be in the line of musicians to keep that art form going. And so my responsibility as an educator to educate my students enough for them to not only appreciate this art form, try to get as good as possible on their level. I don't care about competition wins. It's just your level, as long as you push yourself to as much as possible. And then pass that art form basically to the next generation. Doesn't matter if you're professional or not. You might be just a parent and just play piano at home and you want your kids to study lessons. That is an extremely important contribution. Just like yourself, you're going to schools and you're trying to bring people to appreciate the art form in different angles, different forms. So this is where it starts. So without us doing this work, who is going to continue doing it? So it's not necessarily people would naturally just keep it going. So my goal is to keep this art going, and just being privileged to study with such wonderful professors back in Russia and here in the US, and have such a lineage of musicians behind me. So that's my philosophy, and I want everyone to be included in it regardless of your level. As long as you on board, I want to do it. If you somewhat limited in your capacities at the moment, I'm absolutely fine. I'm actually enjoy sometimes working with students like this more because they challenge me more to figure out how to help them. So that would be my mission, I would say, and that would be my philosophy. That would be my purpose as a musician. So
Great. Wonderful. Um, so if you could go back in time at any time, who would you like to have, who would you like to invite to dinner to?
would be nice to invite my parents. That would be first. So, but if we're talking about music,
Doesn't have to be music.
doesn't have to be music. Um, King Tut. No. No, I probably would be centering out music. I would love to have a conversation, let's say, with Bach. That would be, I don't speak German and he doesn't probably didn't speak English, so it would be a very short conversation, but at least look after his shoulder and see what he's doing when he's teaching. So while I'm sipping that tea. So from the immediate, if I had more than one choice, I would probably go through quite a few composers, and then I would probably, going outside of music, I would want to converse with potentially some philosophical minds. to see how their understanding of the world changed from what we know now versus what they know. Galileo would be nice to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that would be good conversation. Not sure if I would go back a couple of thousand years ago to talk to somebody else. Well, it would be interesting to talk to Jesus if he was a person, and I wouldn't mind to talk to him and see what he would say. So, and I'm not an organized religion, but having such a figure in the history, I wouldn't mind to talk to Jesus. I wouldn't mind to talk to Moses, and probably representatives of all religions, and just try to see how those philosophical and religious lines evolved. So, and go to the source, to actual person who is behind it, to talk, versus the structure that evolved after, would be probably interesting.
Great. Can I have some pop-up questions?
Sure.
Are you a happy person?
I'm a balanced person.
Okay. If you were asked a question, what is happiness? How would you translate that into your life?
I think what I'm doing and not questioning it, that's happiness. Because having the luxury, not questioning your path. I decided to be a musician when I was, I think, distinctly I remember I was either 4.5 or 5 years old. That decision was made. And I never questioned it. I could have been a scientist, I could have been an astronomer, I could have been probably somebody else, but not questioning of your place in life is a luxury and a winning ticket. It brings you, I don't know if there is full happiness is possible. People go through stages, but I think being balanced and centered, that you don't look for something else. You are in your place, you're doing what you want to do, you enjoy every moment, and that's probably makes me workaholic. But nevertheless, that's a luxury. So I think that's the happiness for in my life.
Thank you so much, Igor. Next, we have an excerpt of Igor's student. Please tell us her name. Performing Beethoven Sonata number 30, Opus 109. What is the name of the student?
Are we talking about Alisa Gavrilovich?
Maybe. Well, maybe
Yes.
we'll play it first, and then you tell us
Yes.
who the performer was, because we couldn't find it. Yes, let's do that.
Yes, it's Alisa Gavrilovich.
Wonderful. Great student. We are now moving on to picture gallery. So as we go through some of your picture, we selected only five, so that you can tell us a little bit about each one.
Yeah, that picture is I am with my student who just recently graduated with his bachelor degree in piano performance, Thomas Shu. We are at MTNA National Convention. It was a few years ago. And he's the one who, for the first time in history of my university, Westchester University, he won not only the state of Pennsylvania MTNA, he won the Eastern Division and gave a beautiful performance at the national competition as a collegiate level. And he didn't get any prize, but I'm extremely proud of what he did. It was just a pristine performance. So he's an extremely talented young pianist, learning so much repertoire. He played all 12 transcendental etudes by Liszt as his junior recital.
Fantastic.
He gave recital on all scherzos by Chopin, the first as a freshman. His one of the pieces for his final senior recital was Rachmaninoff First Sonata and then Berg Sonata, and one of Mozart younger, the earlier sonatas. So he is just extremely talented pianist. Yanjima and again Thomas. So this is the picture and post from when they got their prizes from competitions. Yanjima Tsibikova on the left, for me on the screen. She's studied in Gnesin Music Institute. She's from Russia, and she came to study with me as an international student. Finished her master's in piano performance on full assistantship. And she finished second master's in piano pedagogy. And at the moment, she is a DMA student at Temple University, studying with Sarah Davis Buchner. And just also a wonderful pianist herself. She won quite a few competitions. During pandemic, we also applied to quite a few very serious online competitions with serious jury, and she got Grand Prix in one of them where she pretty much bypassed a very strong line of competitors with a very serious jury. And then work ethics for both of the students that we're looking at, Thomas Shu and Yanjima, just impeccable, and just musicianship and just next generation of wonderful musicians that I'm proud of, that I and privileged that I worked with. That is Chicago International Music Competition. I actually just finished judging not long ago the preliminary round yet again. Steven Spooner.
Yes.
He invited me. He was one of your guests in the past. So he invited me to judge again and to sort out who could continue into the finals live in July. And Steven Spooner gave a fantastic master class at my university this past semester. I finally met him in person, and we had a wonderful conversation after the master class. At the dinner, we just conversed about the Russian school. We brought this up also, and he studied with the fantastic Georgian teachers. So, and being on that kind of level of connection, it was fantastic. And he's just a fantastic musician, pianist, and the person is just a human being. Level of his, how humble he is just amazing. These are my wonderful teachers and amateurs friends. I will see at least two of them. So this is PepsiCo Hall at Texas Christian University, TCU. So this was after the master class. It probably was about 2 years ago, probably. And that was right after the master class, and we just took a group picture. So it's just amazing. I appreciated the amateur aspect of music making very early, very quickly. So that was new for me in Russia, in the Soviet Union. Being an amateur musician wasn't a thing from what I remember.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or at least not common. And it's such a wonderful thing that now musicians who are not professional, but many of them professionally trained, they are now have an outlet to compete, perform, and the level of it rose tremendously in the past 20, 25 years. So it's just fantastic addition to the cultural level of the society. So probably even more important than professionals. Same, it's Piano Texas, being goofy. We took a stage at the Clyburn Hall at TCU a few years ago. And of course, in the middle, you can see Tamas Ungar right there. So, and then next to him is Gabriel Kwok from Hong Kong to his left. And to his right is Choi Pan Poon, who was, I would say, almost like an assistant to a degree, and great pianist herself. She accompanied all concertos for the concerto competition to all the levels, which would be so many concertos. And then a goofy guy in the blue shirt sticking his hand up would be next to Gabriel Kwok. That would be me, sitting in the glasses.
Great.
Yeah, this is with Bob Rinaldi with the Teachers Hall of Fame that when I was inducted, and I'm grateful to Jacobs Music Company that nominated me that year for that recognition. So I've been in close relationship with Jacobs Music and the family and the staff and people who work for them for so many years, and they've been supporting so many events around Philadelphia. They were not just a music store that sells pianos, so they invested so much their time and money and financial resources to benefit the basically music, not on the same level what you're doing, but just bring music out to outside their doors of their 4 or 5 stores. So it's Bob Rinaldi. So at that occasion, so it's the wonderful family.
Fantastic. Next, we have Igor's second student, Thomas, who you introduced through pictures, performing Liszt Transcendental Etude Number 5 to Filet. Take a look. Great student, really, and wonderful
Yeah.
work, Igor. And then we have a last video of Igor performing Rachmaninoff Prelude in C sharp minor, Opus 3, number 2. Take a look. Wonderful, Igor. Thanks so much for coming on to our broadcast. We're delighted to have you, and we wanted to wish you and your student all the best in the upcoming school year and beyond. And thank you again. And thanks so much to our listeners and subscribers for tuning in support of this program. So long.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation.